Hey, Jeff at Sweet Sounds here, back again with another sweet project. This is a brand new 2025 Vexus DVX22S that is fully, and I mean fully loaded, all the top of the line fishing equipment you can find, along with a kick-ass stereo, an amazing power supply system in this thing, fully loaded up. So we're going to kind of go through the audio system here. I'll add a couple of links down below. You can see some of the walkthroughs as far as some of the other gear that's on here also. And we'll get into that a little bit too. So let's go ahead and just take a quick peek at what the audio system consisted of. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this project overall, some of the equipment in here. So this came in without any audio system at all. It was special ordered that way. No speakers, no head unit, no source unit, totally blank. So we had a blank slate to work with on this thing. Head unit wise, Memphis Audio SMC3. It's a fantastic marine grade source unit. Really good screen, both dark and light mode on there. 3 sets of good voltage outputs on there. Independent subwoofer control. It's got multiple zones on it. Really cool radio. That radio runs 2 amplifiers. These are both part of Memphis's Extreme Audio series. It's going to be 2 of the MX800.4s. Those are 4-channel amplifiers capable of about 200 watts RMS per channel. Very strong amplifiers. One of those amplifiers runs 2 pairs of the Infinity Kappa Marine 6.5-inch speakers. That's part of Infinity's high-end marine line. Excellent sounding speakers. We do a lot of these speakers. They do include RGB capable lighting on there. Great sounding quality all the way around. And then the other amplifier runs 1 pair of the Infinity Kappa 8-inch marine speakers, once again LED capable, and then has the final 2 channels bridged to a single Kappa Marine 10-inch subwoofer. So we're running all Infinity marine audio equipment in this. A lot of people are familiar with Infinity. It's part of the Harman brands of companies, same as Audio, Revel, and a whole lot of other equipment. Massive audio company. Let's go ahead and let's just take a quick browse at the exterior of the boat. And then we'll go ahead and hop on in this thing. So there was quite a bit of custom fabrication done on this boat. Some of it for the audio system, some of it for other purposes. All of that was done in-house. And I should probably clarify right off the bat, this boat is actually owned by one of our employees. He is one of the great expert fishing guides you will find around. He focuses on walleyes and muskies, and I can tell you, if you are looking for a great guide to go out and find either good quantities or potentially personal records for either one of those fish, give him a call. Send him a message. I will go ahead and add his contact information in the bottom of this post also. Name of that is Jacob Sweere Fishing Guide Service, and I'll tell you, he is fantastic at what he does. This is his boat, and this was all done in-house. All the audio equipment, the entire wiring that was done in here, all of the grass, trolling motor, literally everything was done on this boat in-house here. So this isn't something we normally offer. Once in a great while we will get into doing all the other work that you see on this boat. Track systems, graphs, whole 9 yards, lighting, audio. Generally speaking, we only get into doing the graphs and whatnot if we are already doing all of the other work on the boat also. So if you have a blank slate and you are looking at getting something set up just like this, give us a call. Either ask for Jacob or Jeff, and we can kind of discuss some of these projects with you. We don't normally just do like one-off graph installations and things like that, but if you're looking to drop off a boat, have everything done, and then one of the nicest things you can do is you can hire Jacob to take you out for a day and actually teach you how to use all this equipment. I can tell you he is absolutely an expert when it comes to finding fish using the lightest technology that's out there. So let's get back talking into what we did. So right off the bat, since we're in the back of this boat, the battery panel back here was not capable of having everything on it that he wanted to, so we went ahead and drew this up on the computer. We cut a new panel out of ABS for that. We added the extra controller he wanted onto that. It's really simple. You can plug this in, keep it charged up anytime. Pretty simple, but one of those things we can do in-house. You don't have to take the boat somewhere else. to get that done. This boat also has some extremely bright exterior lighting on there also. These lights are actually designed to only be used while they're underwater because they run so hot. They actually use the water to keep themselves cool. Once I'm up in the boat, I'll flip them on just real briefly. You can kind of get an idea of what they look like. They are extremely bright. They do look fantastic when you're cruising down across the lake, throwing up a rooster tail, and they look really cool out in the waves. Let's go ahead and climb on up and take a look at the rest of the system in here. So let's just walk around the boat. You can kind of get a feeling for how everything's installed in here real quick. Of course, the trolling motor setup, multiple graphs up front, an extra screen. Really works out exceptionally well. Most of the time, these boats, when they ship from the factory, they come with just one pair of speakers installed in the rear section, of course. You know, that makes a little bit of noise when they're fishing still and in your rear, but if you want to listen to something that's quality while you're going across the water at 50 miles an hour, you definitely need a better audio system. You need better amplification. You need a good source unit to go along with that. So we'll start with the source unit here. As you can see, that is the Memphis SMC3. Looks good, works very well. I did mention that this has a couple of different visual modes on there, both a night mode and a day mode. Works out really well. Obviously takes a little bit for the camera to adjust on that, but that's a nice little feature. As I mentioned, multiple zones, subwoofer control, easy volume control. Of course, Bluetooth, streaming Bluetooth, has all the capabilities you need to on that. From there, it is running to two Memphis Audio amplifiers, and those are actually tucked up underneath here. I'm going to have to turn a little light on. Those are mounted onto a panel, and then they are tucked up behind here. And that gives us the ability to be able to adjust them when we need to adjust them. Plenty of cooling as far as airflow goes around those, but they are tucked up out of the way. We don't have to worry about banging or hitting into them or anything. Speaker-wise, we've got 3 sets of speakers, as I mentioned, 2 sets of 6.5s. So these holes we had to drill into here, had to cut into here. You have to be exceptionally cautious when you're working on a lot of these new fiberglass boats because a lot of them are filled front to back with insulation, and you've got tubes and or wires routed through those, and if you make a mistake, the time and effort required to fix that stuff is going to be tremendous. We've never had a problem with that, but I've heard stories from other folks, and it's just terrible. So you have to take your time to do those right the first time. Going to the back, these are actually probably the trickiest ones because there's multiple tubes right behind these ones. 6.5-inch speakers there, once again with the LED lights. These have RGB, so you can technically do color changing, but since he wanted to stick with red as far as the trim goes on this boat, decided to just do red on the lights. Matching speaker over here. Anytime we're laying out speakers on a boat, anytime we can get the distance from one passenger to the next to be about the same, that's a win because everybody will experience about the same thing. And then the middle speakers here are going to be the 8-inch. Same deal, just a simply larger speaker. And you can see the same over here. And then we have the 10-inch subwoofer. That subwoofer required a little bit of work on the CNC also, so we built a 3/4-inch panel to mount that subwoofer to, and then he ordered up some of this same foam plating. We mounted that on there so it really blends in well with everything else that's going on in this boat. And you can see how the flooring in here blends in very well. You probably would have thought that came from the factory if you didn't know any better. So that's a 10-inch subwoofer. And then, as I mentioned, there is some lighting done in this thing. So these lights were added in here. Those are an on-off light. And then the speakers are actually mounted on a dimmer, and that's kind of tucked away in here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you how these things dim. You can have these go brighter and dimmer. Let's go over to that one there. So right now they're actually off as far as the speakers go. And then that's all the way to bright. Of course, we're inside of our shop today with all of the lights turned on, but you still get a good idea how bright these actually are. I'm going to turn off the interior lights, and now we have just the speakers lit up at that point in time. And like I said, those can go up and down. And then let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the rear lights. It's going to really light up basically the entire wall back there when I flip this thing on. You can see how massively bright that is back there. That looks so cool. So that's on, that's off, that's on, that's off. And those are those two LED bars that I showed you right off the bat. So in addition to that, of course, as I mentioned, everything else was done in here was done in-house. All of the graphs as far as wiring, mounting, routing, all of the wiring for all of that. Mounted the trolling motor, controls for that. Everything else was done in-house. Here's actually a cool thing. I'm going to flip this up. This was something we designed in-house and built in-house. It's something actually I did. So when you're out fishing and you don't want to take the time to sort all your lures and you're on the fish, if you want to just change lures real quick, you just pop this panel open right here. And what we did is we cut out this piece of black plastic, did that on the CNC, and then we had the CNC also cut all of these holes in here, and each one of those holes has got a magnet. That's actually a neo magnet in there. And there's a couple of clips on here, a couple different kind of clips, and then a section of foam. So if you want to, you can literally have your lures hanging out with magnets. If you want to, maybe you can clip them in there, or of course you can clip some of them into there also. That keeps it so much nicer and neat and clean in here. You don't have to worry about someone get a hook in their foot. It's quick access, works out really slick. That's not something we've put up on the website for sale yet, but I guess honestly, if you wanted one, give us a call, and I'm sure we could make some more for you as far as that goes too. These are specific fitments. We've only designed this one for the Vexus boats here. So if you got a Vexus, you want to get one of these done, give us a call. I'm sure we can help you out as far as that goes. So that is a wonderful installation in this Vexus DVX22S. As I mentioned, this is owned by Sweere, Sweere Fishing Services. If you are looking for a guide to go out and catch some monster walleyes or some monster muskies around Minnesota, and he fishes a ton out in the Green Bay area, you will be exceptionally happy with the services he provides. So I'll put some links for that also. If you're looking at getting some work done in your boat, whether you're looking buying a brand new boat and you want to buy it blank and bring it down to us and have the entire job done, or mostly what we do are full audio jobs, you know, like that one over there. Got 3 sets of speakers on it, new set of 10-inch towers, amplification, whole 9 yards. We can take care of everything you need. Give us a call. Sweet Sounds, Mankato, Minnesota. Check us out on our website, sweetsounds.com. Give us a call, 507-345-8863. You might have thought I was going to leave you without playing the stereo. We're not going to do that. Let's go ahead and turn this thing up and take a listen to it.
I can't get you out of my mind. It's like I feel it for the first time. Been thinking about you all night. I've been searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Short dark hair, but my eyes so bright. And looking through my soul and it sparks my life. Can I take you there? Like it was the first time. Do you remember? Can I take you there? Back to when we felt like this was forever. Can I take you there? Like it was the first time. Do you remember? Can I take you there?
You know, I couldn't leave you hanging without getting a chance to listen to this thing. This thing sounds absolutely crystal clear. Any volume, you can take that volume, not jack it up all the way, and this thing absolutely sings. So, you know, if you're looking to get some fantastic audio, give us a call. Jeff at Sweet Sounds, 507-345-8863. If you like some of these videos, be sure to like and subscribe. And once again, check out the links below if you want to see Sweere Fishing Guide service for all your fishing guide needs. Hey, so we're getting out from behind the camera today to talk about security systems, alarm systems for the marine environment, for your boat, for the trailer, for the contents, for your rods, your reels, your audio system in your boat, your expensive graphs mounted on the bow, your expensive graphs mounted on the console, and how we can go about protecting them, protecting that big investment you've made. Obviously, a nice boat these days, you can easily spend well into the 6 figures by the time you've got that thing fully decked out. It's a pretty serious investment. When you're out traveling around, you might be stopping in hotels on your trip. You may be staying at different lodges and different resorts. You might be leaving your boat on the water overnight. These are all ways to help protect your investment from disappearing and or being damaged. So right off the bat, we're not going to get into the details on the internal workings of our alarm triggers. And the reason for that is I'm not going to provide information to thieves on how to defeat the systems that we're installing. In fact, we won't even talk about how we do the real nitty-gritty of this work over the phone. The only time we get into how we actually protect all these specific different parts of the boat is when the boat is here in front of us and we're doing other work on it already. So if we're doing a big audio system, we're doing some electronics on it, or whatever the case might be. When we're doing all that work, we're more than happy to talk about securing it also, and that's when we get into it. So if you're looking here to get the details on how to defeat our systems, go find something else better to do with your life. Moving forward, all right, so what we use in a boat in a marine environment is basically crossovers from our car environment. All 12 volt, all going to work in the same locations, no problem, no issues at that. So when it comes to the alarm systems, first thing we have to do is be able to control this system. So there's a couple different options with that. Traditional ways are via handheld remote controls. Handheld remote controls are broken down into 2 major categories. A one-way remote control works like your factory key fob. You hit the button, sends a signal to the boat. If the boat's close enough to receive that signal, it will arm the alarm or disarm the alarm. However, a one-way remote control cannot receive any kind of commands. So if you want to know if somebody attempted to do something to your boat, or if your boat's trying to send you notifications, you have to have a 2-way remote control. So that's where we get into the CompuStar like T11, T12 remote control seen here. Nice large LCD display, or maybe our CompuStar T13 here. Nice color display, thin remote control. Something like our T11, T12 is a real popular solution for this. Super durable. You can drop it. You can put it into a puddle. I think it's like 3 feet waterproof for 30 minutes. Excellent device. Rechargeable remote control battery on that thing. That is going to have 2-way confirmation on it. So when you hit the button on this, it will send a signal to your boat, and it will go ahead and arm up. And it will confirm that it was close enough to arm up. Likewise, it will do the same thing for disarm. More importantly, it will receive notifications from the alarm system inside of your boat. So if someone messes with your boat, someone sets off one of the triggers, someone sets off the shock sensor, somebody starts driving away with your boat, this will receive a notification from the controller in your boat and show you right on the display here what's going on with it. So for example, it will say shock down here, or it will say tilt down here to let you actually let you know which zone or which trigger has been set off. So that's a cool device. 3 miles max range on something like the T13, 2 miles max range here with the DSST technology. Very, very cool. Obviously, when you're out on an open territory like water, you're going to have really, really long range capabilities with that. But if you're in more of an urban environment, maybe staying at a hotel, ranges are going to go down. Those are direct line of sight maximum ranges. You get walls and buildings and structures between you and the boat, those ranges are going to come down. So that's where we start getting into our telematics devices. A telematics device is a device that we install inside of the boat, and we hook it up to the main controller in there, and this communicates over the cellular network. The X1 or X2s are standard series devices. This is just simply a communication device. So it hooks up and communicates via the cellular network. The default one works over the AT&T network. There's a chip we can change out to make it work over the Verizon network also. AT&T's got good coverage pretty much everywhere. We've had really good results with that. just as a default. This one here gives you tracking capability, so if someone was to steal your boat and the device is still functional, you can actually track where the boat and trailer is actually all going. This one will send you notifications regarding any alarm zones that have been hooked up. Very cool piece. But the next step up is even cooler, and that is the X1 Max. And the X1 Max, it's actually small. This is all the bigger it is. Easily fits in the palm of your hand here. The X1 Max takes everything that the X1 or the X2 does, and it adds a whole bunch of really cool features to it. So first off, this one has a built-in backup battery on it. Why is that important when it comes to security and alarm systems? So one of the first things thieves have learned to do is they will disconnect the power supply inside of the boat or inside of the car, whatever it is that we're protecting, a trailer, whatever it is. One of the first things they're going to do is they're going to disconnect the electrical system and they're disconnect the batteries. Why? Because if there's an alarm system in there, most of the time that means it's going to get disconnected also. This device here has about a 4-hour capable runtime once the battery, the main battery, has been disconnected, of self-powering it. So if someone steals your boat, starts driving off with it, this guy will allow you to track that for about 4 hours. Not exact, but about 4 hours of powering itself with the built-in battery. So that alone is worth the upgrade. In addition to that, it has a built-in DAS2 sensor on it. The DAS2 sensor covers most of what we need to do for monitoring the boat and the trailer itself. So this is going to have multiple sensors built into it. First off is a dual-stage shock sensor. A shock is an impact sensor. It's not a motion or a rocking sensor. It's impact. It's designed to pick up hard impact. If somebody bangs into your trailer, you can speak from experience on that. At a landing, boom, hey, you're going to get a notification that it's been hit. 2 stages. A lighter impact gives you a warning. A heavier impact sets the alarm off full. If we've installed a siren on the boat, then you'll get an audible notification or an audible siren going off at the boat, in addition to the notifications to your phone or to your remote control. Siren is optional. Most people like them, but if you want silent alerts and you just want to be notified of what's going on, not a problem. The siren does not have to be done. In addition to that, this has a digital tilt sensor in that. So regardless of how you parked your boat, if you parked it on a hill, it's going to zero itself out wherever it was set. And if it picks up tilting, and we can adjust how many degrees that tilt is, if it picks up tilting, the alarm will go ahead and trigger and send you a notification on your app, on your phone, or via remote control that the tilt sensor has been triggered. Why is somebody tilting your trailer up? Well, probably because you're trying to steal it. In addition to that, it has an accelerometer. What is an accelerometer? An accelerometer is actually the boat, in this case, or trailer, car, whatever you have this device on, actually physically moving, accelerating, right? So if for some reason they didn't actually jack the boat up or down and the boat starts moving, it's going to pick that up also, and it will send you, trigger the alarm, and then send you a notification that the boat has been towing. It actually sends a notification on your phone that says vehicles being towed or trailers being towed. So super, super cool device. In addition to that, it does have one other capability on that, and that's a glass break sensor. In this case, we're not really going to make use of the glass break sensor. Glass break sensor, however, if you are using this inside of a vehicle, it's awesome because it works really well to cover all of the windows, which is the most common way for a potential thief to break into a car. So DAS2 sensor came out some years ago from CompuStar. It's an awesome piece. It's a huge step up from any of the previous sensors they had available. Like I mentioned, you take an X1, you add the DAS2, you add a backup battery, and that's where you have the X1 Max. Now, it is important to mention, if you're going to do your cellular capability, you do have to have a subscription plan to make that work. Just like anything you do over the cellular network, you have to pay for that. There's a couple different levels of service. There's basic, there's advanced, and then there's like super high-end where you can track it like every 1 or 2 minutes for breadcrumb tracking. So you can hop online and you can look at the different packages, Drone Mobile, just search for Drone Mobile plans, and you can see all that information, or you can find it on our website, linked off of there also. So that's a very cool device. That's going to cover a lot of what we need to do as far as the boat itself, the trailer itself, the combination of those two. That device will normally get hooked up to this right here. And this is a control module. This one here is CompuStar First Tech's CMX device. This shipped out a couple of years ago, and it is now their top of the line controller. And this you can kind of consider this the brains or the main computer of the system, whereas the X1 Max is kind of your telematics device, which communicates back and forth. So this one's going to add some extra things into it, the mixture. One of those nice things is going to be a low battery warning. Let's say you have your boat out, you don't have a charger or a tender system hooked up to it. Once your batteries drop below a predetermined level, this system will send a signal out to you and let you know right on your phone that, hey, your battery is getting low. I have the same device actually hooked up on a secondary vehicle I don't drive very often. It's our plow vehicle. So it sits around a lot in the summer. If I don't have it plugged into the tender, every month or two, whatever it is, it will send me a signal saying, hey, your battery's getting low, get that thing on a charger. That's super cool. Once again, that's a selectable voltage that we set that at, 11.5 volts, 11 volts, whatever we want to, and that will send you some information. Even if you do have a tender hooked up, it's still a nice backup in case your tender happens to stop working, somebody unplugs it, or maybe the breaker gets set because it's running around on an extension cord outside and got wet. So that's a cool capability. This device is where all of our other sensors are going to get hooked up through. So we can put multiple zones on that. In a vehicle, those are normally hooked up to like the hood pin switch, a trunk or a hatch pin switch, to the door switches, and zones like that. We relate those to a boat to oftentimes what's on the bow, what's in the console area, what's in the back of the boat. So this works out really slick. There's a multiple different ways we can get those sensor inputs. Some of the standard ways are things people are more likely to be familiar with, such as a pin switch or a magnetic switch, where when a compartment gets opened up, the magnet breaks and goes ahead and triggers the alarm, or a pin switch where a plunger rises a little bit, and as soon as it rises that ½ inch or so, the alarm goes ahead and triggers, and you get your notification in that way. In addition to that, and this is the part I can't get into too much in detail because we really created a way to cover pretty much everything on the boat without having to rely on too many or really any of those sensors. So it's a unique process that we do, that we integrate into the boat, where you can cover the hatches on the boat very well, so the battery cover, your compartments where your rods are, your rod lockers, your compartments where your tackle is stored. In addition, it's the same kind of method for protecting your graphs. So if you got two 15-inch graphs on the front of your boat, you might have $6,000, $8,000 of graphs on the front of that thing. You might have another 10, 12-inch graph or a couple of them at the console. So we've got methods to be able to monitor those being messed with and or removed. Now, as I mentioned, an alarm system is a deterrent. There are no guarantees of your boat not getting messed with, but we want to make it as hard as possible for a potential thief to steal anything off of your boat. Sucks to say, we want them to go find another target, or preferably find a new line of work in their life and quit being thieves. But we want to protect your stuff. That's what we're here for. So remember, alarm systems are deterrents or no guarantees. It's kind of like insurance. You buy insurance for the what-if situations. Your boat gets stolen, you still want to have insurance on it. You don't ever expect it to be stolen, but you want it there. So it's a great deterrent. Back onto those sensors. So those sensors, this method that we devised works really well to cover the compartments, works really well to cover the audio system, works really well to cover the graphs. The same kind of a thing can be set up to cover your trolling motor if you're worried about that, and any number of different areas of the boat. I can't get into the details of it. I wish I could, but we're not going to share our methods because the more people know about it, the more likely it is to get defeated. So, safe to say, if you spend the money on all electronics, not a bad idea to spend a few bucks on protecting it also. So, in addition to the siren that you can use for a visual or an audible output once the alarm is triggered. We can also hook up a little LED if you really want to let a person know that there's a potential alarm system in that. Just like you'd see on the dashboard of a car, we can put that same thing on your boat where a little light will blink, letting a potential thief know that there's an alarm in there. There's good and bad about that. Of course, it draws attention, so you're going to have more people see it, but it also hopefully would let a potential thief know that there's probably going to be easier targets out there to go after. Now, once you add all these electronic devices in your boat, are going to have to worry about dead batteries. Well, first off, that voltage monitoring system, being able to notify you if your batteries are low, is super cool. But these new devices, the current draw on these is exceptionally low. So if you just do this device by itself, not including the remote controls, not including the telematics, this device draws from about 5 to 7 milliamps, which is a tiny amount of draw. If you add the LED, that's going to add another 4 or 5 milliamps to it. So the LED draws most of the power. If you're not going to use LED, no problem. That's very small, not going to wear your batteries down very fast. You're going to go weeks or months without having to worry about that. But eventually we'll have to charge them up. If you add RF remote controls, that's actually one of the larger draws. That's going to be anywhere from about 8 to 15 milliamps to draw. And if you add the telematics device, that does not have much draw at idle. So most of the time it's going to have a very low draw, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 7 to 10 milliamps. But while it's active, while it's communicating, while it's sending alarm signals, while it's getting notifications, while it's getting updates, that draw is going to be higher. 100 milliamps, 150 milliamps, whatever it needs to be able to successfully be able to send and receive those signals. Speaking of updates, what's one of the coolest things about this is these things receive over-the-air updates, just similar to how your cell phone does, so you can always have an up-to-date device via those updates. So super cool, super nice. One of the things I like to mention in order to be able to solve or come up with this solution, our first go around on this was actually the previous boat to this Vexus, and it worked out really well, but we worked out a few little hiccups in the system. For example, we were testing a radar or field disturbance sensor in that one. That's a sensor we use when we're protecting convertibles because there's really no other way to protect a convertible with the top down. But we found in a boat in a marine environment, you just simply can't use it. There's too many other obstructions that are going to set it off. If you put a cover over your boat outside, that alone it's going to set it off. Too much motion, too much wind, it just really triggers false alarms all the time. So that one out. Part of the process in being able to create this, we had to be able to solder our tinned copper wires onto stainless steel because part of the system is exposed. It's going to be on the outside, on the top deck of your boat, so it's going to get rained on. If you don't have the cover on, it's going to get wet. Obviously, these things are still going to be exposed while you're out fishing. It's going to get splashed on. Things get wet. So part of the big process was being able to solder our tinned copper wire to stainless steel. We've got that solved. We've used it for well over a year. No corrosion, no problems at all. Works awesome, and that was kind of the critical aspect of being able to implement all of these new sensors on these boats. So if you are looking at getting something done on your boat, we're doing some work for you regarding an audio system, other electronics on there, we'd be happy to talk to you. Once again, if you give us a call over the phone, I'm not going to get into the details on what we can do. We'll give you some ballpark pricing depending upon what you want for controllers, what you want for a telematics device, but when it comes to the details of how we actually integrate the circuitry and the devices to protect it, bring your boat on by and we'll be happy to talk to you because we want to make sure this information is kept on the down low as much as possible. If you love these videos, you want to learn new information about different cool things that we're doing here at Sweet Sounds, Mankato, Minnesota, be sure to like and subscribe to this video. Check us out on our website, sweetsounds.com. Give us a call if you want to chat, 507-345-8863. Safe travels. Sight lines to everybody.